And a good Wednesday midday to you. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com. They represent 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. So we have a pretty good storm system that's moved out of the Rocky Mountains, and you can see some pretty strong gusty winds associated with it. This is going to be an area where severe weather is in the process of developing along that band. And then the area of low pressure is going to make a track toward the Great Lakes, and mostly the western Great Lakes. With this area particularly is going to be having blizzard conditions in the high plains. The temperature scenario is such that it's warm on the front end but cold on the back end, and as this area of low pressure then tracks into the Great Lakes, this colder air will swing in on the backside and move into Vermont. That's not going to happen until we get into this weekend. And out ahead of it, a big fat ridge of higher pressure. One little disturbance, this is the little kink in the 500 hectopascal thicknesses you can see. This little shortwave trough is what's going to whip on through. This is going to develop some light accumulating snow for this evening. It could slush up area roads, but it's out of here around midnight, and then improving conditions builds back with this ridge of higher pressure. So this is the 2 o'clock, looking at the countrywide here, and at 2 o'clock this afternoon, then we see that little bit of moisture working into New England. This is associated with that little disturbance that zips on through and it zips right out. The main system is off to the west of us, wound up pretty strong. This is a pretty deep inland kind of bomb, very low pressure, if you will, and then it sort of weakens and makes a track into the Great Lakes. And that's important because as it weakens and fills just a bit, the pressure gradient out ahead of it is not as strong. So there's southeasterly winds, but they looks like they're well below thresholds, even at the summit levels of the Green Mountains. That's important. Then on Friday, both Thursday and Friday, we'll see that southwesterly flow move in a fair amount of warmth. In fact, temperatures could be in the 50s, trying to make a run towards 60 degrees in places like the Champlain and Connecticut River valleys. So that moves on out with a cold front. You see the occluded front. And on Friday, we might see maybe a couple thunderstorms in the mix, but these are going to be kind of dying out as they move east into Vermont. Much better chance across the Ohio Valley into New York State. Then on the backside of this system, you can see a little bit of snow is with an Arctic frontal system that is basically aligned here, roughly into the Great Lakes, right along this area. And then that moves through the region. That's going to bring us more snow showers and some gusty winds on Saturday, and that's our next issues with gradient winds. However, it looks pretty limited at this point in time. That then gets pushed on out. High pressure begins to build into the region gradually, and that goes into Monday as well as Tuesday and even Wednesday of next week. So it looks like a pretty quiet start to the first half of next week. A couple minor systems that could be affecting us, but models will more than likely change. This is almost 7 days out. Looking at precipitation type, you see that little system zip through Vermont here. It's mostly in the form, just about all in crystal form or snow. So a little bit of green there shown, that's not right. Then conditions will set up without precipitation for a time, and then we get into this a little bit into Friday. You can see where there might be some thunderstorms, and then those heavier, darker spots there, and then that moves on out. So then we have a little bit of snow, and it's kind of a little bit of a busy pattern as we head toward the weekend, and the conditions begin to calm down as we get into Sunday. High pressure builds in, some lake effect plumes shown there, but nothing of any major sort. And we're getting close to day 7 here. This is we'll take it into Wednesday, a couple little flurries and move through, but for the most part, we're looking at generally quiet weather. GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier, Vermont. You can see the this is precipitation type. We have a little bit of a chance of some freezing rain, but this is not really a big deal. This is going to be primarily snow. Then it's basically all rain, and then the next shot looks like it's a little bit in the way of snow. 3-hour QPF on the GFS ensemble centered on Montpelier. You can see just minimal amounts here. This is one little shot. That's that little system this evening. Then a little better shot as we get into the rain shower activity, and then a little bit of snow shower activity. Now looking at the totals here is in terms of total QPF, or quantitative precipitation, the accumulations there, all this is going to be under a ½ inch, so no big deal there. This is precipitable water, or PWatts, and the best plume of precipitable water approaching 1 inch, not a big deal. It's about 1 to 2 standard deviations is going to be taking place with that warm surge. Looking at wind issues, this is the Saturday winds, these are out of the west, and you can see the wind gusts here. The low-level jet somewhere above 50 miles per hour, and that's about where we start looking at a concern for utilities. This is not going to be a big deal. And this is 850 hectopascal temperature. Note this is the 32 degree line or 0 degrees Celsius line. Note how warm it is here at 850 hectopascals. Is about the top of Mount Mansfield. So plenty of milder air intruding into the region. And looking at the temperature right now, this is the way she's looking. Temperatures max out, of course. This is showing around 50, the GFS ensemble, but typically these things are always moderated or played downward. And you can see that it cools down next week. Quick look at a couple different storm tracks. There's one right here coming out of the plains. That's the big blizzard that we're talking about with the strong winds that goes into the Great Lakes this week. And then there's been some precipitation, sort of speckled, you might say. And for us, you know, we're looking at basically about around 1/4 of an inch to about a 1/2 inch for this entire 7-day period. Looking at temperature right now, this is the way things are shaping up. A little bit above normal for the next 5 days. Of course, the big warm-up that's just around the corner is awaiting that. Note that most of the rest of the country, except the far west coast, is going to be actually colder than normal. So about 3 days later, we get colder again. And that's going to be weighted toward next week. Roger Hill at Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.